I don't know about you, but I am a complicated individual, and I rarely see simple solutions. I will go all around the houses and somebody will literally just say, well, why don't you just press this? And I'll be like, and it can be quite frustrating, but equally it can also be quite amusing as well. And that's just, I've just come to understand that I don't see things sometimes that other people do that might be clear as day for somebody else. And I suppose one of those things for me was negative thinking. I had to deal with my negative thinking because I was just completely believing every negative thought that came into my head, and I would absorb it as though it was truth, and then that would stop me from progressing. So I found that I had a lot of envy of others who were out there grabbing life, reaching their goals, getting the rewards, and I was sitting there thinking, that's just lucky, it might happen to those people, but it won't happen to me. And I was always sort of just miserable, really, and obviously quite passive aggressive, resentful underneath. So there's lots of stuff that I had wrong with me, or was wrong with me, and so I started to realise that if I'm paying so much homage to these negative thoughts, why is that? Why am I believing these without even any research or scrutiny at all? Why am I believing these thoughts? So I just thought to myself, right, next time one of these comes in, I'm gonna research it. I'm gonna have a look at it and just see if it's true. And I think it was something like, I am useless, or I told myself I was useless because I made a mistake. And I just stopped right there and I just said, okay, so I am useless. What does that mean? Is that, is it true? And of course, if I am useless, I deemed I would be unsuccessful in every single event or task that I'd carried out that day. And of course, that wasn't true. So straight away I thought, well, if I'm useless at everything, then, I would be feeling horrendous. And I don't feel horrendous. I'm literally feeling okay, I feel bad about this mistake, sure, but all these other things, and I reminded myself of all the things that I'd done that day that were successful. Getting up is successful, brushing my teeth, taking good care of myself in the mornings, feeding for myself breakfast, all of these things, I was successful. So I thought to myself, well, if I'm believing thoughts like that immediately, then why is that? Because, I'm not, there must be a reason that I'm just, without any thought whatsoever, just believing that. And I recognise that, negative thoughts for me were a way of me sabotaging my progress forward. So it wasn't necessarily the negative thoughts. I was effectively grabbing those negative thoughts as a way of using them as an excuse not to go forward. So it got deeper, right? So it wasn't just as simple as, a negative thought, I believed it and I didn't do what I needed to do because of that. There was a payoff. And I realised that actually there is a part of me that doesn't want to move forward. So why am I stopping myself from moving forward? Why am I not getting in the... Why am I not asking this girl out? Why am I not going for this job promotion? Why am I not starting my own business? And I recognised that there was a part of me that was afraid of increasing the anxiety that I was already feeling. So it was quite a young feeling. So, whether you believe in your inner child, your true self, or whatever it is, it was a very young part of me that was not wanting to increase that anxiety, which was it felt quite lovely. Do you know what I mean? It was quite a nurturing sort of realization that there was a young part of me that was just frightened of moving forward because it would create more anxiety that we were struggling with dealing with at the moment. And it was like an epiphany. I just suddenly thought, well, my God, there's been this underlying part of me which is just purely just trying to avoid fear. And then there's a lot of books around, and people are always telling me to read certain books, and I do appreciate it. I just don't have time to read all the books that everyone tells me. But Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, was a book, and I still haven't read it. But I've listened to a lot of his podcasts, and I've listened to people like Jim Carrey and stuff like that who've obviously worked on the basis that Eckhart Tolle describes as just working and being totally in the present. Because I recognise that when I'm in the present, there is no anxiety. So if I'm not in the future and I'm not in the past, I'm no longer in anxiety. I am being, I am here, I am now. There is no anxiety. So I've just got to try and keep myself here in the present, and when I'm in the present, I can then undertake these tasks that normally I would stop myself from doing because I'm increasing the anxiety. So this sort of stuff just reminds me that if I'm really willing to progress and really make something of myself and to be the person that I've always wanted to be, I consistently need to keep doing an inventory. And I work 12-step programs, and step 10 is the daily inventory. And I would say to myself, I'm really poor at doing step 10s, I don't do it properly. But actually, I'm realising that there is a very good reason for you, for me, for everybody, to do a spot check every evening. Say, what's happened today? Where did things not go right? Where things did go right, because that's absolutely essential as well, to be able to remind yourself, just like I did with that negative thinking, I'm useless, but actually I'd been very successful. There's lots of tasks that I'd created. You need to balance it out. It's very useful to do both sides, what went wrong, what went right. And if I do this every day, then I cannot fail to move forward. But I just need to remind myself each day that this is a part of the progress, and this is a part of my program, is to keep checking on stuff like this, because I'm wasting a lot of time, and time debting is a thing. So these are my thoughts for today. I hope someone got something from that. If you've got any stories of your own, comment below. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your bank holiday and enjoy the sun.